Good morning, student, and good morning, everyone. My name is Smangaliso Mathambi. I'm an admin officer for Counseling and Career Development Unit in Devon campus. First, I would like to thank you all students for attending this workshop. And then I would also like to indicate that this is the live event. As you have noticed that your mic and cameras are muted, so you won't be able to unmute yourself. And then, however, you are allowed to post your questions, comments, and suggestions to the Q&A section. If you look at the Q&A, if you click there, you can see it will give you the platform to engage. And then whatever question that you want to address to the facilitator, you can do so, and then she will attend to your question after the presentation. However, if you are asking the general question, and then TCGPs and other student counselors who are not presenting, they will attend to your query or to your question. I'm not alone here. I'm with my colleagues, of which is Inga Chekela, Beauty Maloba, Nokbonga Shange, and Samgelisiwe Tusi, Sanelisiwe Dunge. So we will be assisting you regarding this workshop. Whatever challenges that you might have, please feel free to post on the Q&A, and then myself and the team will able to assist. And then without a waste of any time, and then I will allow Dr. Hendricks to start the business of the day. But before I give Dr. Hendricks the platform, I would like to indicate to students that this workshop is being recorded, and then the recording will be available to you maybe after a day or so, and then on the YouTube channel. And then we will also share the DCCD YouTube link where you can access all our workshops recording for 2024. Thank you. Dr. Hendricks, you can start the presentation.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I always make this mistake at the beginning of the workshop. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Growth Mindset, Fixed Mindset, and the Power of Yet workshop. Some of you might have been at this workshop before. I constantly try and relook at the slides so that I can, make it a little bit more easier for people to understand based on feedback that I sometimes get from students saying, I don't understand what's the difference between the growth mindset and fixed mindset. So if we can, not waste any more time, Smal, I want you to go back on this to ask people, what is a mindset? Okay, so a mindset really is made up of what? It's made up of a set of attitudes, assumptions, and beliefs that we hold about the world, right? But what we need to understand is that it can be changed if we have proper training, if we have a lot of development. Yes, then we can change how we see things, our attitude towards them, our assumptions and our beliefs, obviously, about that. Remember that your assumptions influence and inform your beliefs that you have. So if you have assumptions about a situation that are negative, then you're obviously going to have negative beliefs about it, and vice versa. You come with negative beliefs or a negative core belief, it's going to influence your assumption, which then influences your attitude. So a mindset is the belief that a person holds about their intellect and their ability. And remember, your mindset is not just about your intellect and your ability, it's about a whole host of other things as well. So this concept was developed by a psychologist by the name of Carol Dweck, and it is the belief that abilities, right, our abilities and our intelligence is developed not just through our genetics or through the environment, but through learning, through effort, and of course, perseverance. So this mindset contrasts with a fixed mindset, because what I just described to you now is you understanding how a growth mindset is influenced. It's influenced by effort, learning, and perseverance, right? And it contrasts with the fixed mindset where the individual believes that our abilities are innate, they are static, and they cannot be changed, right? And they believe people who have a fixed mindset belief system or mindset believe that We are just naturally smart. You're either clever or you're stupid. There's no way that you can develop intelligence, no matter how hard you try and succeed. Whereas growth mindset people say that you're not born intelligent. Yes, there is some genes that do play a role, right? But you can develop intelligence. How do you do that? Through perseverance, through putting in the effort, right? By growing and changing and developing your potential. We can improve if we put in the time and the effort and the persistence. Next slide. So success also comes from having the right mindset. If you adopt a growth mindset, yes, there is a possibility, a very high possibility, that you will develop a really successful mindset, right? Because you believe that with the right mindset, it's more important than just intelligence, more important than just talent, or more important than just education. And you also believe that an individual success is not just based on talent alone and ability alone, but on how we think about it. Remember earlier on I was saying about how our beliefs are influenced by our assumptions. Our assumptions are influenced by the way in which we think, right? So in the way in which you think about our aspirations and our goals, and that will depend on whether we actually utilize a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. So the mindset describes how a set belief system influences how we think about our abilities, and also even about our basic intelligence, about our basic potential. And this in turn then fuels our behavior and predicts our success or our failure. So did you know that your intelligence is something that's flexible? Because the brain is neuroplastic, isn't it? It's plastic, it means it's flexible, it means that it's malleable. It's not, intelligence is not just something that's static. So the brain develops every single day. You would have seen videos on this on TikTok and on Instagram, where they talk about ways in which you can improve the brain activity through things like Wordle and other games that influence the mind to develop and to grow, right? So we know now through the growth mindset, fixed mindset conceptualization that intelligence and even success is not fixed at birth. Next slide. So the growth mindset, fixed mindset concept also believes that, and through decades of research, that there's a powerful relationship between our mindsets and what we achieve. And our belief system about this, about intelligence, about anything, our relationships, our work, our colleagues, anything, right? It depends on a number of things. And influence, not only does it depend on it, but it also influences a number of things. So for example, if you are somebody that has a fixed mindset, right? If you believe your intelligence is set in stone, it's static, that no matter how much of effort you put in something, you're just always going to end up with the same mark, it's going to influence your motivation. Right? Similarly, if you have a growth mindset and you believe that, well, if I put in the effort, if I persevere, and the process of doing this is more important to me than just the outcome, my success does not depend on the marks that I get, but what I learn through this process. It's going to influence your motivation. It's going to influence your academic behaviors, because if you're somebody that believes, well, I failed, so sorry, there's no trying. This is it for me. This is who I am. This is what I am are capable of, then it's going to influence your academic behavior in a negative way, in that you're going to give up studying. You're not going to put in any effort because you believe that whatever your output has been, that's all that you are capable of, right? So it also influences our responses to challenges that we might face in our daily lives, as well as the setbacks. Sometimes when people fail, they believe, well, this is it for me. I mean, I don't think I'm capable of any better than this. And some people fail over and over and over again, and you wonder, like, why do they not give up? Why don't they just retract and give up? It's because they have a growth mindset, right? They believe that they have the ability to do something. And remember in the beginning, I talked about beliefs and assumptions and so forth. So exactly, this is how growth mindset works, is that if you have the belief that you can succeed, you will eventually succeed. And you will not be put off by things like failure. Failure is a part of life. It's not like once I fail, that must mean it. I can't do this degree again, right? So I have students, for example, that will go and start to become a degree, or will start something, maybe a medicine degree, and will say, well, you know what, I'm just not doing well in these tests. I don't think I'm cut out for this degree. And we say to them, put more effort into it. You know, it doesn't matter that you're not passing a particular test. Just keep on trying harder. The harder you try, the more you start believing in your capacity, in your potential, and your intellectual ability, right? And this is what eventually then leads to academic achievement. Next slide. So I was talking earlier on about the psychologist who developed growth mindset, fixed mindset, and she also speaks about the theory of mind, which she believes is about the psychology of success. And these are made up of two mindsets that lead to two different behaviors and results, right? And she says that our brains are malleable. That means we can learn. That means that that intelligence is not fixed. And she says that in a fixed mindset, it's all about the outcome. The person is not focused on the process. So if you fail, like I was saying, you'll think that every effort that you've made has been wasted and that you are yourself a failure, right? Not just that you failed a particular module or that you failed in a relationship or that you failed at getting a job and not being successful at the interview. You will believe that you yourself is a failure. And that feeds into a core belief that influences all your other actions thereafter. You will not want to attempt anything else because in your mind, your belief is, I'm a failure. Not I failed at the interview. Let me try at the next interview. Or I failed in this relationship. It doesn't mean you're a failure in all relationships. Maybe in that relationship, it was a mix of yourself and the other person. And so when you have a fixed mindset, you start believing, well, I'm a failure. Every relationship I get into, I mess up. But if you adopted a growth mindset, you'll believe, well, you know what, I failed at that relationship. And you'll start looking at ways in which you contributed to that failure as opposed to seeing you as the complete fault in that relationship or you the complete fault in the way you approach the module. You will look at the way you approach the module. You would look at what are the things that I did that I think I could improve upon? What are the things that I did that I could do better or do differently? That's having a growth mindset. It's not just, well, if I have a growth mindset, it means I'm going to pass all my modules. If I have a growth mindset, it means all my relationships are going to be a success. No, that's not what a growth mindset means, right? So as I said, it's all about the process and learning in that process because none of us are perfect, right? We all make mistakes every single day. And we have to be able to have the ability to be insightful and self-reflect and be self-aware to look at how do we contribute to something not panning out the way we would like it to pan out. And therein lies the growth mindset. Therein lies the growth and therein lies the development of, okay, I know where I went wrong. This is how I want to change. So having the ability to be self-critical and owning up to and taking accountability for your actions and in contributing to something that you have failed at is what a growth mindset is about. Next slide. So in the next slide, I think you would be, I can't see what's on the thing, so I'm going to ask you then to do this mindset quiz, right? So this adopts a Likert scale. What you're going to do is you're going to circle the number. You're going to look at each statement, and whichever statement applies strongly to you, you are going to then circle that under the appropriate Likert scale statement. So for example, on statement 1, it says you're intelligent is something very basic about you that you can't change very much. If you strongly agree with this, then you're going to put a 0. I'm going to give you 12:29 now. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Smart, can you move to the next slide? Because that's where the mindset quiz is on. Okay, great. Everyone can see that mindset quiz? The instructions are up there. You just read the statement and then you circle which one you think most applies in terms of the way you think. Right? Even if you could please be as honest as you can, the way you thought before you came into the workshop. What was your basic way of thinking about yourself? Okay, I think I'm going to go on to the next slide then, Sma. I'm not going to give you the score just yet because I want to go through a few more slides on fixed mindset and growth mindset so that you understand it a little bit more. And then I'm going to come to a slide where you will be able to interpret your results. Can we move to the next slide, Smo? Okay. So people with fixed mindset believe that intelligence and talent are traits that come naturally to them. They believe they can create their own success because talent alone is what leads to success, and that they don't need to put in any effort because they are natural, right? They believe that they don't have to grow. They don't have to do anything to grow. They're just naturals at this, right? They don't believe they can develop and improve over time. They don't believe that they can acquire talent, that they can acquire skill. Somebody who has a fixed mindset, if they go and try out for soccer, to play on the soccer team, if they don't make the team, they won't go for practice. They won't go and try to do better. They will just give up there. So they also wait on others to validate them, which is problematic. Right? Because if you give up after one try at something, what does that say about you and your tenacity and your ability to be resilient, right? They believe that if they put in the effort, it holds the danger of saying they aren't as smart as they want to be. They're not the person that they want to do. So for them, putting in an effort is actually an insult to their intelligence. So you can see a bit of the person being a little bit conceived, and not trying means that, or to actually rather trying or putting the effort is actually for them an insult to them, to who they are and their capabilities. And for them, for a person, sorry, I should rather say not for them, for a person with a fixed mindset belief, this is the ultimate demotivator, right? They're too scared to try because they believe that I'm not cut out to be a leader, so why should I try, right? I can never build that skill. Right? I either have the talent or I don't have the talent, right? They also believe that I don't need to put up with having to grow. I don't have to put up with having to try. I should be somebody that comes with this ability naturally. If people don't see that, then it's their problem, not my problem, right? Next slide. Can you see how having this fixed mindset is actually, it's problematic? Because people with the fixed mindset are people that think in black and white. They believe that, okay, I'm either a failure or I'm a success, but I can't be both and I can't work towards success, right? So they're very performance driven. So they will set up performance goals. They believe that their potential and intelligence can be measured. Excuse me. So that also means that other people can measure their ability and potential. So what does that mean? As I was saying, they look for validation, external validation. They're incapable of validating themselves, right? And so because of this, what happens? Both success as well as failure leads to a lot of anxiety for them because even their success is not enough for them. So that also tells you about the innate core belief about people who develop or operate from a fixed mindset, right? So it's not just that they become anxious when they fail, they also become anxious when they succeed. What does that mean? They have to continuously feel that whatever they continuously feel whatever they're doing is not good enough. So because of this, people endorsing a fixed mindset are more likely to create performance goals. And this for them reflects their intelligence and their ability to other people. So I keep on getting emails that come in front of me. So for them, learning isn't an end in itself, but rather a means to looking good for other people. What does this mean? It means that success is difficult to enjoy on its own because the person has to continuously prove themselves. And that means they don't feel like they don't feel that they're good enough. And they continuously have to be better than others. So they continuously compete with others. And if they do fail, this is a reflection of their lack of ability. Sorry, now there's a phone call coming through. This is a reflection of their lack of ability or intellect, and they do not see this as an opportunity to learn and develop and improve themselves. Next slide. On the other end of the continuum, we have growth mindset people, right? These people, sorry, I keep on getting interrupted. So growth mindset people are on the other end of the continuum. They tend to set learning goals because they believe that the ultimate goal is competence and achieving mastery. So they don't care how many times they fail. They don't care that they're not good at something. They keep on putting consistent effort into trying and never giving up. They see their challenges, opportunities, right? So scores and marks reflect how people are doing now, and they do not measure your potential. So like I said, if somebody is going through something really a difficult a time right now, and they're not really focused on their work that they have to study for a test or for an exam, it might mean that they will fail.
Sorry to interject, Dr. Hendricks. I just want to confirm the slide that we are at the moment. Is it the right one? The one that...
No, go on to the previous one.
The previous one? Okay.
Yeah, that's it. I'm on that slide.
All right, thank you.
All right. So as I was saying, so scores and marks reflect how people are doing now, and they do not measure a person's potential. So somebody who's having a hard time, let's say, and they were studying for an exam, but they were going through something personal, you might find that they will not do as well on the exam, right? A person with a fixed mindset will judge themselves based on that performance. Somebody with a growth mindset is going to understand that at that time, I was going through a really personal issue. I wasn't focused. I wasn't studying as much as I could. I was very distracted. Hence, I performed poorly, right? So at that time, that's what I mean by how they're doing now. They don't base their potential and their intellect or their intelligence on their performance only. They understand that I was going through something and therefore I performed poorly. But if you had a fixed mindset, you would judge yourself and say, I'm stupid. I'm not as intelligent as everybody else, right? And so when you adopt a growth mindset, you create goals for learning. And this shows you that you can increase your performance and your enjoyment, and you can decrease your negative emotion because you understand that goals are there, they're learning goals, they're based on the process of learning rather than on the outcome or the performance, right? And so they see people with this kind of mindset see learning as an end in itself, right? The goal in a learning environment is to understand the subject, how much you comprehend. So it's the process of learning and the content of learning that you're interested in, how you went about doing that, and how much you know on the topic. It's not so much on when you get tested, oh, well, it must mean that I got a low score, therefore I am not intelligent in that particular module. It doesn't mean that for a person with a growth mindset, right? So you will persevere with the task because the goal is to figure out the problem for the enjoyment of the learning, the act of learning itself. You will ask questions, you will engage, and you're not afraid to ask questions. You will ask questions even if the question sounds silly or it doesn't sound as intelligent, and you won't qualify it with that and say, I know this question sounds silly, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You will ask the silly question anyway, right? Because you understand that through the questions and through me understanding this process a little bit better of what is being presented to me, I'm going to be able to understand new things, right? Because I'm curious about learning, right? You're not going to see this as something that is a imprint on you as a person or as a human being. It doesn't reflect your intelligence in any way. It means that I am somebody that wants to know more. Hence, I will ask questions. It has no consequence on, or doesn't mean that I am asking a whole lot of questions because I don't understand what has been taught to me. And so in this way, when you adopt a learning goal, right, you understand that through that process of asking questions and getting it wrong and asking more questions, you can actually exceed your potential, right? Because you are capable of learning new things. You're capable of growing through that process of trial and error. You're not just stuck in the space of, I either know the answer or I don't know the answer. And if I don't know the answer, I don't ask questions. Because if you adopt that kind of way of thinking, that set of assumptions or beliefs, it means you're stuck in a fixed mindset way of thinking. Next slide. So you can see the difference here between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And you see how on the one end of the continuum, when you adopt a fixed mindset, you will avoid challenges. Whereas if you have a growth mindset, you're somebody who is going to see that challenge as a new opportunity, an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to grow. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but you are prepared and your mind is open to that way of thinking, right? People who have a fixed mindset, because they are people who the underlying dynamic is that they feel that they're not good enough, they project an image of I am better than everybody else. So it's very difficult for them to receive any kind of negative feedback, right? They can become quite defensive. Whereas someone who has a growth mindset wants to understand, okay, so where did I go wrong with this? How can I improve? How can I do this differently? You're open to corrective feedback. You understand that you're not perfect and that whatever you've submitted, whether it's a thesis, whether it's an assignment, any kind of piece of work, you know that there's room for improvement and you want to know, how can I improve on this? How can I make this piece of mine better? If you're in a relationship, you're open to just listening to your partner say to you, I don't like it when you shout or use that tone of voice on me. You're not going to sit there and say, well, you also are allowed and you are also vulgar, not like you are Miss Perfect or Mr. Perfect. See, that's growth mindset way of thinking. You'll be open to it. You'll listen and you'll say, okay, how else am I contributing to our relationship not going the way we want it to go? How else am I contributing to the unhappiness you're feeling right now? That is growth mindset, right? When you're a person with a fixed mindset attitude, you will focus on proving yourself to others. Whereas with the growth mindset, you focus on the process, not the end result, right? You're not focused on outcome. People with a fixed mindset are often threatened by other people, hence the need to project this image that they're better than other people, right? Whereas with the growth mindset, you're inspired by other people. You look up to other people. You want to be like them, right? Fixed mindset people also can't accept failures or mistakes. They're perfectionists, so obviously they won't, right? Whereas somebody with a fixed mindset is willing to learn and grow from their failures. If you're failing in a particular module, if you're failing at a particular assignment, or if you're failing in friendships or relationships, you want to understand, where am I going wrong? How can I change myself? Or how can I change things about me? Because none of us are perfect. It's not about, I'm not talking about major changes, when you're stuck in a GBV relationship. I'm not talking about that kind of thing. I'm talking about when you acknowledge that I have a pattern of behavior in relationships where I destroy or I'm destructive. I don't watch how I speak to people. I insult. I don't compliment my partner. You'll be open to learning from these failures, right? So because you want this relationship to grow, so you'll be open to that. But if you're somebody who is very fixed-minded, you are going to be somebody that's going to be defensive, and you're going to blame the other person and tell them where they're going wrong, as opposed to being open to understanding where you've gone wrong. So you will shy away from unfamiliar things, right? Whereas somebody with a growth mindset is going to step out of their comfort zone and go into a place where they're not comfortable, but they're going to embrace that and want to learn from it. They're going to ask the question and they're going to say, I'm not understanding this. I'm not coping with this. You're willing to say you're not coping. You're willing to say, can you help me with this? You will ask for help, right? Again, as I've mentioned before, with a growth mindset, you believe that talent is static. It cannot change with effort. Whereas with the growth mindset, and you believe that talent is ever changing and ever improving. Next slide, Small. So let's go back to your score chart. If you scored on if you totaled up all of your scores on the quiz that I showed you earlier on, if you scored between 22 and 30, it means you have a very strong growth mindset. So well done to you. If you've got a score between 17 and 21, it means that, well, you have some fixed ideas, but you do have a growth mindset. So keep on working on developing your growth mindset. And I'm going to go into some practical tips just now on how you can do just that. If you have a score between 11 and 16, it means you have a fixed mindset with some growth mindset ideas. And unfortunately, if you're sitting on very low on the score of 0 to 10, it means that your mindset is very strongly fixed and you need to start working really, really hard. Remember that no one ever has either a fixed or a growth mindset. We all appear on somewhere on the continuums. In some instances, we will have a fixed mindset. Sometimes, yes, I do say, look, there are certain things, for example, somebody who has, E's and F's in an exam who wants to go and study medicine, asks, can I develop a growth mindset and maybe I can get into medicine? No, sometimes you've got to also accept a reality that maybe I don't have that level of intelligence to do engineering or to go and become an actuarial scientist or to go and do medicine. But how do I work towards changing my core beliefs about who I am and changing my set of assumptions so that I can change my outlook, so that I can do something, and because it also means being realistic, doesn't it? Being realistic with my capabilities, being realistic with my potential, but at the same time knowing that I do have the ability to put in effort. I do have the ability to put my mind to something and to succeed at it. It's having that belief that conjures up feelings of a growth mindset. It conjures up beliefs of a growth mindset. I'm wary of time, so can we move on to the next slide? So, from what we've just done now in the quiz, if you're somebody that came up as someone who has a very fixed mindset with some growth mindset ideas, it might mean that you are stuck in that fixed mindset way of thinking. And my message to you today is that yes, you can come out of that fixed mindset way of thinking. You don't have to give up. You don't have to say, well, that's who I am, because that's having a fixed mindset about a fixed mindset, isn't it? Right? And so developing a growth mindset means that you're wanting to reframe and you're wanting to reappraise who you are, right? So you're wanting to challenge your beliefs, you're wanting to challenge your set of assumptions and the thinking that you have so that you can overcome this fixed mindset that you have, right? Because this can have an impact on your performance and your ability to succeed. Because believe it or not, we say the attitude you have, which is based on your beliefs and your assumption, is actually a better predictor of your success than your IQ, right? Now, remember what I was saying earlier on. It's about being, you can move it smart. It's about being realistic as well. Not everybody can be doctors and engineers and so forth, but we find our niche and we put in all the effort and we change our mindset from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And it would require that, obviously, if you want to succeed at something, you're going to have to change your attitude towards it. And that will influence your assumptions, and obviously that will influence your belief, and that relationship is bi-directional. Remember that, right? So through this entire presentation, it is hoped that you are beginning to understand the difference between having a fixed mindset and having a growth mindset, right? And so slowly, it is hoped that you're going to realize that when you choose to believe that your intellect is set in stone, it leads to a host of incorrect negative thoughts and beliefs and assumptions about yourself, which then influence the actions that you will take. And you will also realize that the correct belief that your intellect can be cultivated, it can be developed, it can be grown, will lead to a host of different thoughts, which is more positive, obviously, and different set of actions. What Dweck says this is when you come to this realization, it leads to an aha moment, right? That your intelligence can be cultivated, it can be grown. But it can be grown through a measure of effort from your side, right? And curiosity from your side, and a willingness to put in the time and to persevere. Next slide, Sma. Remember that the more mistakes you make, it doesn't mean that you're stupid. It actually means that your brain is developing more, right? One of the things that I often encourage students to do is that practice purposeful engagement. What does that mean? When somebody has looked at a piece of work of yours that you've handed in, look at where you've gone wrong in that piece of work. Use the feedback as an opportunity to improve that piece of work. And don't focus on the negative feedback. Rather focus on the process of doing a better job at it the second time around. Focus on the process of learning and becoming and doing better and becoming more productive, right? And what this requires of you is for you to believe that you can overcome obstacles, because you're choosing to learn from that experience. You're choosing to work harder and to try again and again and again until you reach your goals. You set the standard. You set the bar. You set the set of expectations. It's not about living up to other people's expectations, which is often a fixed mindset way of thinking. It's being able to live up to your set of expectations. It means having to continuously try no matter what, and never ever giving up, right? It doesn't matter what comes up in your way. You will continuously keep on trying till you meet your expectations. Next slide. Remember that many people don't like it when they fail. Yes, and it is very disappointing, and yes, it does make you sad. And you can continue focusing on failing as opposed to saying, you know what, it doesn't define who I am. Yes, I have failed. I don't like that I failed. But what can I do to improve? I want to deal with this in a way that helps me to move on from this, to let me know that I can actually do better than I've done before. Let me realistically reflect on what was going on at that time for me. Okay, I didn't study as hard as I should. I was going through a personal problem. I got my exam dates mixed up. I didn't have a schedule. So look at it realistically, because what does that do? It gives hope. It makes you feel like you're in control of your destiny, of the outcome of whatever you put in, right? Or whatever challenge you're facing. So in this way, you're more likely to enjoy the learning as opposed to feeling like, you know what, I can't do this, and giving up without even trying. And so you're going to seek out situations where you can experiment on, and start small. As you develop your growth mindset, start small, start with little friendships. You know, if you're sitting here in this space right now and you have a friendship that, you know, is not a friendship anymore, where you maybe had an argument with a loved one, a brother, a sister, a spouse or a partner, or even a friend, I challenge you to look back on, okay, if I've been having a fixed mindset about that. If I had to adopt a growth mindset, how would I look at this situation differently? Yes, it is a challenge. That person is problematic, but how have I contributed to this relationship to get it to where it is? How have I, if we take another scenario, how have I contributed to the way in which I have scored on all of my assignments so far? The DP that I'm sitting with right now, how have I contributed to that? How can I do things differently with the upcoming exams? And so it's reflecting on all the things that you did incorrectly, or didn't do enough of, perhaps, and looking at how you can actually change that. That is growth mindset thinking. Next slide, Sma. So how does growth mindset change? No, Smart, previous slide. How does it change your perception of failure, right? Or your point of view? When we adopt a growth mindset, we actually acknowledge our failures. We don't run away from them. We actually find inspiration from them, because we're wanting to keep on improving. So for example, if you get a C on a particular paper, you start looking at a reframe or a reappraisal. You say, well, it's not the end of the world. I will try and do better. And then you action that. How do you action that? You start saying, okay, I'm going to develop a schedule. I'm going to put time aside every single day to focus on the areas that I find difficult with. I'm going to put a study group together. I'm going to consult the lecturers and so forth. A growth mindset is not about giving up. Never. We never give up when we have a growth mindset. We continuously try and improve. We know that learning from failure is what actually leads to eventual success. And what can this be summed up in one sentence? I can't do that yet, okay? And that brings me to the power of yet. Next slide. So the power of yet is also developed by Carol Dweck, right? To nurture a growth mindset, we have to ensure that the word yet forms part of our vocabulary, because it encourages continual learning and development, right? So sometimes, instead of seeing yourself as good, And that's a fixed mindset way of thinking, right? Try and set goals and strive to get better at what you're doing. Try and improve the skills that you're not good at yet, right? Remember that all of us are a work in progress. We are continuously developing, we're continuously improving ourselves every single day, right? One of the ways you could do this, instead of seeing your weaknesses as weaknesses, reframe them as strengths, right? Strengths that you have not yet developed, right? And that word yet is very, very powerful, right? Because it acknowledges your current state, but it also gives you the assurance and the encouragement that you're going to continuously grow and improve. Your skill is acquired, remember, over time. No one just learns something and then that's it, right? There's no such thing also with the power of yet. There's no such thing as I'm not good at maths, or I'm not good at this job, or I'm not good at presentations, or I'm not good at relationships or friendships, right? Next slide. So some of the ways in which we can use the word yet is to say, I'm not good at my maths, or I'm not good at accounting. I'm not good at accounting. I'm not good at my job. And we use I'm not good at my job yet, or I'm not good at accounting yet. I'm not good at relationships or friendships yet. I'm not as smart as they are. That's a fixed mindset way of thinking. When we adopt a growth mindset, we will say something on the lines of I'm not as smart as they are yet, right? Another example is I'll never understand how to do this balance sheet in accounting. Instead of saying that, you say something like, I don't understand how to do ABC in accounting yet. Can you see how different that is? It's more powerful because it gives you hope. It gives you that, okay, I don't know it yet, but it's something that I can still learn, right? I failed my exam again. You can say something like, I am not yet able to pass this exam. It's a really difficult exam. Or I am not yet able to lose weight. And you use the word yet in every sentence that you have. You find a way to bring in the word yet, right? I'm not able to complete this assignment yet, but what's the action? I will try and attempt it tonight and tomorrow morning, and I will contact a few friends on Telegram to see whether I'm on the right track. So it's not just saying the word yet, but also actioning the plan that you have after that yet. Next slide. So this is also another a few ways in which you can look at developing a growth mindset, right? Instead of saying, I'm not good at this, say, what am I missing here? Instead of saying, I'm going to give up, oh, I'm going to use a different strategy. Instead of saying, it's good enough, ask yourself, is this really my best work? Another example would be, I can't make this assignment any better. A growth mindset way of thinking would be, I can always improve. Okay, so you get the gist of where I'm going to with this. It's more really about cognitive reframing and reappraising the way in which you think about something, right? If you're somebody that's very negative minded, if you put yourself down all the time, find a way to think in a growth mindset way, right? Next slide, Smell. So the next few slides really speak to how you can actually develop a growth mindset so that you can contribute to your own success, right? Self-reflection is something that must be practiced. Reflect on your experience regularly on a daily basis, usually at the end of the day. Look at what worked, what didn't work, and how you can improve yourself in the future. Remember, the focus is on your effort, not the outcome, and recognizing the effort and the persistence are key to success. And you must celebrate the process, right, of learning rather than just the final result. It's not about the end result. Yes, I'm not saying if you get a C and you really want to get a B, you must say, well, it's not about the result. Put action it to say, well, okay, next time I'm going to try and get a B in it, but don't make the C the end of the world. It shouldn't define you, right? Make sure that every single day in the way you're thinking, that you consistently cognitively appraise and you reframe your negative way of thinking and adopt the power of it. Replace your thoughts of I can't do this with I can do this, right? And this fosters the belief that you have the ability to grow and achieve over time. Set learning goals, not performance goals. So prioritize learning over performance and setting goals accordingly and focusing on acquiring new skills and new knowledge. Ask questions, be curious, make the mistakes, and don't be afraid about the mistakes. Say, well, I made a mistake. Once you own it, once you acknowledge it, you find yourself not focusing on the failure, not focusing on the mistakes, because you own it. And it doesn't give anyone else a need to kind of comment on it. And that then helps you in turn with that the need for external validation, which then just decreases, right? Surround yourself with people that are growth mindset people, right? Engage with them because they can encourage you to practice a growth mindset even more, right? And this also in turn fosters a supportive environment for your own personal development. Adaptability is another way that you can foster a growth mindset, because it allows you to adjust your approach and the strategies that you need. And this flexibility is really crucial, right? Especially in the VUCA world that we find ourselves in, where those who can learn and adapt are more likely to succeed, and you need that in a VUCA world. Next slide, Smo. Embrace challenges, forget about failures. Okay, so that's not important. Remember that these are opportunities to grow. When you fail, it's an opportunity to grow. When you make a mistake, it's an opportunity to grow. It's not an obstacle. It's not a challenge, right? The more likely you think like this, the more likely you're going to take on difficult tasks, the more likely you're going to put in the effort, and you're going to persist, even in the face of setbacks, because you know that it's going to lead to success. It's going to lead to continuous improvement. Learning from criticisms and feedback. Remember that a person with a growth mindset, they encourage the feedback. Why? Because they want to improve, right? They don't care that it's negative, because they see this as valuable information. They want to make whatever they've done even better, right? They don't see this as a personal attack. And when you open, it doesn't matter where you're at or what level you're at, when you're open to constructive criticism, and I'm not saying criticism where people you get bosses that are continuously critical, right? You can choose to listen. What is the message behind this? Some people criticize because of their own stuff that's happening inside for them. Be discerning. Know when a person is just a critical person. This is a fixed mindset person. I don't need to take back their criticism. I'm talking about people like your lecturers, for example. Don't take it personally, right? Just try and look at, how can I refine my skills? How can I improve over time, right? Because remember, when you have that kind of attitude, when you have that kind of mindset, it's going to cultivate resilience, especially when you're faced with things that you're not happy with, especially in the face of failure, right? Remember that setbacks are just temporary. That's how you're gonna view this. When you fail at something, don't see it as something that defines you. You see it as a temporary setback, and that whatever you're trying to achieve is sustainable, or is attainable. Remember, when you have this kind of mindset, it keeps you motivated to continue working towards those goals that you have set. And it's not the end of the world. Remember that it's not the end of the world when you fail, right? Be persistent. Remember that you need to believe that effort leads to improvement. You have to put in the necessary work. Remember, I spoke about actioning things. You can't just say, well, okay, I believe in this, I believe in effort, but then you don't put in the effort. You have to put in the effort. You have to put in the necessary work. You have to persist. You have to be consistent. Remember, when you're dedicated and you're committed, this is what's going to achieve the long-term success for yourself, right? Especially, it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're at undergrad level, honors level, master's level, or whatever way, right? Remember that you do not want to be using the words like gifted. Oh, I'm gifted, I'm talented, I'm smart, because that is the black and white way of thinking. Because if you're smart, you will pass. And if you fail, it means you're not smart. So we don't want to adopt that way of thinking. Do not be results based, and do not be somebody that focuses on praise that is results based, right? You're wanting to focus on the effort, what you put into it, right? You're not focused on the outcome at all, because again, that's going to lead back to the black and white thinking. Remember, again, embrace failure, see it as a challenge and an opportunity. It's all part of the learning process. Remember, you can also, if you do fail and you struggle with failure, go for therapy. Go and ask your therapist, why is it that I struggle with failure? Sometimes there's lots of indoctrinations and internalizations that you've had from childhood, from teachers, from parents, who've made you feel like you're not good enough, and you really struggle, and you're stuck in that fixed mindset, right? Maybe you need more individual work. So then go and seek that work, right? Make sure that you start viewing yourself and your failure and mistakes from a lens of, yet rather as rather than, or as not yet, rather than seeing yourself as I'm stupid or I don't have the potential and so forth. So use the word yet or not yet in your vocabulary as much as you can, as opposed to saying, I can't pass this. I'm bad at relationships. I'm not good at relationships yet, right? If you're not good or great at something, and if it's a challenge, it's fine. None of us are perfect. Embrace those imperfections. Make a commitment to yourself, not to other people. Remember, I said about your own expectations, to say, I'm going to try harder. And whatever effort you do put in, and no matter how small that effort is, praise yourself. Praise yourself for putting in the effort. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. I often say this. It doesn't matter like if you get a C or D or E or an F. If you worked really hard, right? And you really put in the effort. It could have been other situations or other circumstances or factors that contributed to you performing so badly. I always look at the effort. What effort did this person put in? It doesn't matter. For example, if somebody really worked really hard on a presentation and they came in and they made a few mistakes, I will highlight those mistakes, but it's the effort. You put in all of this effort into the presentation. You put in all of the effort into running this group. You put in all of the effort into doing this campaign. For me, it's about the effort. It doesn't matter. But if I see that very minimal effort has been put in, obviously there's going to be some kind of criticism that there was no effort, hence there was an outcome. So when you don't put in an effort into something and the outcome is not as expected, ask yourself, what was I expecting? With the amount of effort that I put in, what was I expecting the outcome to be? That's the only time you should be focusing on the outcome. And the reason I say that is so that you can start re-looking at what kind or level of effort is required for the outcome that I really want. So you can't put in minimal effort and expect maximum outcomes. It's not going to work that way. Next slide, now. So look for opportunities to challenge yourself, right? So that you can learn new things, focus on the process. As I said, cultivate a sense of purpose, right? If you know what your end goal is, if not, if you don't know what your end goal is, what does that mean? Start reevaluating, right? What are your priorities? I was just speaking about that earlier on, about the outcome and about the effort and outcome. Remember that you need to choose learning well over learning fast. I mean, you don't ever get success with learning fast. I mean, that's just trying to prove something to somebody else. And in that process, you're going to make mistakes. Expect that, embrace that. It doesn't mean that you're a failure in and of itself, right? It just means that you're on the right track. You're just not there yet. Lastly, remember that a growth mindset empowers individuals to pursue their goals with commitment, determination, resilience, and in the belief of their own potential to grow and to succeed. Having a growth mindset does take a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, but it can be done. You've got to work on it every single day. You've got to be self-attuned, and you've got to be self-aware and catch yourself believing in a growth mindset way. We are at the end. Thank you, Sma. I will take a few questions. I know we've gone a little bit over time, but we did start after 10 past 12, I think we started.
So the first question is the fixed mindset good in some situations?
Is the fixed mindset good in some situations?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just waiting for that car to pass. Like I said earlier on, in some situations where we have to be realistic with ourselves, like, for example, you'll get people who will try a particular degree and they know that not everyone is an A student. And that's what having a fixed mindset and growth mindset is about. If you believe I'm either an A student or I'm not, then you have a fixed mindset, right? If you have a growth mindset, you accept the fact that I'm not an A student. And let me find something that I am actually suited for. That's not having a fixed mindset. I don't know if I'm answering the question. In some situations, for example, does she mean like if I have failed something 5 times and I've put in all of the effort, I've embraced challenges, I have been persistent, I need to accept my failure? Is that what she means? Because that's not what fixed mindset means. That's actually a growth mindset. Remember, it's not like a fixed mindset means that if I fail, I must accept failure. and if I pass, then I have a growth mindset. That's not how growth mindset, fixed mindset works. That's not how it works. Can the person who asked that question maybe just elaborate what they mean about when I adopt a fixed mindset? Because what I was saying is it happens on a continuum, right? No one is ever a growth mindset, 100% of the time. But it's not good to have a fixed mindset 90% of the time, because you're never going to get anywhere. You're always going to have this black and white way of thinking. You're always going to see yourself, either as a success or as a failure. You're never going to want to put effort into anything, because you're going to believe, well, if I didn't pass it, I didn't pass this thing, it must mean I'm stupid. It must mean I'm a failure. You're defining yourself by the failure. So that's what I mean.
The second question is, would the fixed mindset be preferred in certain environments or conditions?
Again, I'd need an example. I don't know what they mean by that. From what I understand from the research I've done, you should have mostly, if I can put it in percentages, 90% a growth mindset and 10% a fixed mindset, which means a person would be leaning more, to having a growth mindset in anything that you approach, whether it's friendships, relationships, your studies, your job, a job interview, whatever that may be.
Another question is, where does laziness fall in a mindset? How can this be changed?
Where does laziness fall?
Yes.
I would think in a fixed mindset domain, because you believe that I shouldn't put in any effort. What's the point of putting in an effort? So it's obviously you having a fixed mindset if you are lazy, because you don't think, you're not motivated. You don't see how. Remember this other slide that I had, the one on achievement. If you can just go back there, Sma. The one on achievement, remember? About how a mindset influences achievement, right? Because there's been research that shows that there's a powerful relationship between mindset and achievement. So if you have a lazy mindset, obviously it must mean you are somebody that doesn't think in a growth mindset way. So you would believe that I don't need to put in any effort. I should actually just pass. Because a lot of intelligent people can be quite lazy, because they want to rely on natural talent. I should go into the exam, and because I'm so clever, I shouldn't have to put in any effort. I would pass. And when they don't pass and you tell them to put in the effort, that's an insult to them. Make sense? I see a hand up there. I'm not sure if are we going to hands at all?
No, we are not taking hands. We are just reading questions as they are on the chat.
Being motivated by my desired outcome, the wrong approach, as we should be performance-based rather than worrying about the outcome. No, I said you must not be performance-based. Don't set performance goals. Remember? I said don't set performance goals, because that's having a fixed mindset. Do you remember that? I don't know who's that speaker. I said that people with fixed mindset create performance goals, right? They believe that their potential and intelligence and ability can be measured. Right? What does that lead to? It leads to seeking validation from other people, right? It means that other people will judge you based on your ability and your potential, right? What else did I say there? Remember, I talked about anxiety, and that for people who are performance-based tend to have anxiety when it comes to both success and failure, right? I also said that they have black and white thinking, that they often feel like they're not good enough, and so they have to prove themselves to other people. And they also see that failure is a reflection of their lack of ability, their lack of intellect. They don't see failure as a learning opportunity. Okay. Okay, somebody said, yeah, Miriam Mullah says, why is a negative voice stronger in some than others? Does being realistic mean accepting your deficiencies? And how does one learn to validate themselves? Well, self-validation is such an important thing. It's not just about standing in a mirror and saying to yourself, I am beautiful, I am intelligent. It's actually putting an effort into doing things. For example, if you don't have a bath, and you say to yourself in the mirror, I am beautiful, your face still has, from the night before, you've put no moisturizer on, you haven't put any lipstick on, or you haven't put any Vaseline on your lips or any lip balm on your lips, you haven't combed your hair, you haven't put in the effort, right? So you'll have a bath, you will comb your hair, you'll put in on something new, or sorry, something clean rather than something new, and you will look at yourself in the mirror and say to yourself, I look pretty decent. I like the way I look, right? Yes, and a negative voice can be strong in others. It depends on, early childhood indoctrinations. A lot of the time we go into the childhood, even though you may work with somebody who's has cognitive dysfunction, as we say, we do go into the childhood to help the person understand. So where does these negative core beliefs come from? Where does these self-limiting beliefs come from? They come from childhood, where maybe the person was bullied in school by friends, maybe the person grew up poor, maybe the person grew up in a home where mother and father fought a lot. There was a lot of swearing, and maybe there was a lot of insulting each other, and that also went, in like with the children being insulted. You bring in a report card home. It didn't matter how much you improved in your marks. It didn't matter whether you brought home A's. Your parents just, either never validated it, okay, or if they did validate it, it was not enough that in terms of what you needed at that time. And even teachers who insult you in the classroom, who, where you've put in a lot of effort, for example, into doing a poster, and because there's somebody that's a pet in the classroom, or that person always comes first in the class, that person doesn't matter how bad their poster is, that teacher just likes them, so that teacher will just give them the better mark than you, even though you know that you put in more effort and that your poster should have gotten a better mark. We all get these kind of negative experiences, which influences our belief system, our core beliefs, as we call them. And often those core beliefs lead up to these automatic thoughts that we have about ourselves, and also the kind of cognitive distortions we had. The black and white thinking is an example of a cognitive distortion. Another one is catastrophizing, and another important one is minimizing and magnification, where we minimize our how can I put it, our achievements, and we magnify our failures, right? And that's also having a fixed mindset, where you magnify your failures and you minimize all of your successes, right? She says also, does being realistic means accepting your deficiencies? Yes, sometimes in some instances it does, but not before you've tried to actually put in the effort and get up and try after you failed, and then try again, and then say, well, you know what, I've tried twice now. I think that that points to something to me that I'm actually not good at. Like for me, for example, I know I cannot do maths. So I know, and I'm not insulted by that. I'm just good at other things, you see. I know realistically I am deficient in mathematics or anything numbers oriented. I'm not good in it. And I have put in the effort. I have tried. And I did prove to myself, for example, that I'm good at statistics. I'm just not good at mathematics. And I'm fine with that. So I respect the fact that there are other people that are much more intelligent. I admire them. I will look up to them, but I'm not going to be trying to aspire to be like that. So it's accepting your deficiencies, accepting your weaknesses, and then looking at what other areas that am I stronger in. Not focusing on the fact that, oh, I'm not good at maths, so that means I'm a complete failure. No, that's just one area. Understand? I hope that answers your question, Mariam. Next question. Yes. Is it possible to influence someone that has a fixed mindset to get a growth mindset? Absolutely. Absolutely. And you need to do that by modeling it yourself, constantly reminding yourself. Okay, if you looked at the beginning of this presentation, what happened? We were having a whole lot of technological difficulties. Yes, it was frustrating. I acknowledged my frustration because my network was so slow, but I didn't see this as I'm a complete failure. Yes, I made mistakes during the presentation. That doesn't mean I'm a complete failure, right? So it's that kind of thing. And also being able to I even have to remind myself every single day about, okay, so when I think a particular way and I think to myself, okay, so that's really a fixed mindset way of thinking. What's a growth mindset way of thinking in a different way? That's the cognitive reappraisal, the cognitive reframing I was talking about. Yes, you will get stuck, but reflect. Remember self-reflection. So, okay, I was really thinking about that in the wrong way. How can I flip the script? How can I think differently about that same situation? And then that's when you're encouraging the person or even yourself to think about it in a growth mindset way. Someone says, if I'm trying to study and feel asleep while studying because I don't understand the notes and choose to study later, does that mean I have a fixed mindset? No. You are choosing to study later. You are saying you're setting a goal, you're setting a learning goal. Okay, right now I'm tired. You're being realistic, aren't you? You're saying, I'm really tired. I don't have the energy right now to put in the effort, but I'm going to re-energize myself by getting a power nap for a couple of hours. And then later on, and then you set your alarm for later on, that's actioning it. You set your alarm for later on, 9 o'clock at night till 12 o'clock, and then you put in that time, right? What else? What else can I say? That's all I can see right now. I can't see anything else, Ma, on your side or TCGPs.
Okay.
There's one that's coming just now. It says, good day, Dr. Hendricks. Do you believe that although one can employ growth mindsets, does this this does not mean infinite growth? Does at some point will hit a plateau?
Okay, I don't understand the question. Can you just read it again?
Say, good day, Dr. Hendricks.
Yeah.
Do you believe that although one can employ growth mindsets,
Yeah.
does this mean it does not infinite growth, or
I don't understand. Infinite growth, influence growth.
It's saying infinite growth here.
I don't understand the question. How does it influence infinite growth?
It's infinite growth.
But isn't that what I was presenting the whole time in terms of how it develops infinite growth? Yes, you will get stuck sometimes, right? You will get stuck sometimes where you feel like I'm not going anywhere, I'm going somewhere very slowly. It's time to maybe ask yourself a couple of questions. Do I need to recharge? What's keeping me feeling stuck? I even said to you guys, when it's difficult to be just growth mindset all the time. It exists on a continuum. Sometimes you will shift to being very fixed minded and then ask yourself, why am I shifting to that? What else is going on? There's other factors. Remember, we're not just we're not just living in a vacuum. There's so many things that influence us on a daily basis. We all have relationships, we have families, we have financial challenges, we have our studies, we have tests, we have things, we've got our deadlines, we've got to meet, and it does bog us down, right? Don't be unrealistic with yourself. Being unrealistic is having a fixed mindset. Not being able to say, I'm having a plateau right now, and accepting the plateau is having a fixed mindset. Do you get how fixed mindset works? So embracing the fact that you're plateauing right now, that you're not growing right now, is having a growth mindset, because then that springs you into action. It makes you want to do something about it. It's when you accept the plateau, it's when you're saying, well, growth is finite, is when you are having a fixed mindset. Remember what I said about the brain being plastic. Neuroplasticity means our brains are malleable. It means that we can mold it. It means that it's open to learning. Remember, I said also that when you put in effort, when you make a mistake, your brain is actually growing. Right? So when you accept something, even when you accept your deficiency, that acceptance is having a growth mindset. Do you understand what I'm saying? And remember, accepting the deficiency after you've put in the effort. It's after putting that effort and saying, well, I've tried 3 times. I'm accepting the fact that I'm not good at maths. That doesn't mean you've reached a plateau. That doesn't mean you're having a fixed mindset. That means I'm embracing the fact that I'm not good at maths and that I'm going to see what else I'm actually good at. I might be good at something else. Remember, I said I was not good at maths, but when I got into honors, master's, PhD, I realized, I'm actually good at stats. And so I embrace that. That's a new thing for me. I'm actually good with the numbers when it comes to statistics. I'm not good with math, but I'm at least good with stats, right? Someone says, how can one keep a growth mindset when you're surrounded by fixed mindset people? Keep on pointing it out. Keep on saying, you know what, that's actually a very fixed-minded way of thinking. I would rather, and then reframe for them how they can actually adopt a growth mindset. If you have children and they say, oh, mommy, I failed my test. Oh, mommy, nobody wants to be friends with me because I'm not a good person, or I'm not rich, or I'm not whatever they say. Help your child to adopt a growth mindset and say, okay, so what efforts are you putting into to make this relationship or this friendship work with your friend at school? Are you sharing your lunch? Are you helping your friend when your friend's in trouble? Are you sitting with your friend? You know, what is your child doing that's making, there's nothing that they're doing? Then help them to develop this. Well, not everybody can be my friend. The people that are around me, or the people are wanting to be my friend, will be people that will come and make friends with me during the break time, or they will want my help, or they'll want to share a sandwich with me, and so forth. So a growth mindset is not, it's not an either or thing. Remember that. The black and white thinking comes from having a fixed mindset. Right? If people don't want to be your friend at school, it doesn't mean it's because I'm a bad person, or I'm not rich, or I'm not popular. It could be very many other things that the person is not realizing that's contributing to not getting friends at school. You help the person to understand that, as opposed to thinking in a black and white thinking kind of way. I hope making sense.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hendricks. I think we have now exhausted all our time. And I would like to thank all our students for being patient with us as we were experiencing technical glitches at the beginning of the workshop, but you were patient enough to remain in the workshop. We really appreciated it, and we believe that this workshop, or you have benefited everything that you were supposed to benefit, and then based on the comment that you have posted, it shows that it's really helped. Thank you once again, Dr. Hendricks, for such a wonderful presentation. Student, we have posted the link to book a one-on-one counseling session. If you feel like you have to discuss something further, the link will lead you to the available student counselor at your region, because it's not all of you who are actually based in Durban. So feel free to book the session with your student counselor at your region using the link that has been posted. And again, if you want to go through to the recording, you can also visit the DCCD YouTube link that was posted on the chat as well, and then so that you can go through this recording. Thank you once again. I hope you have all completed the evaluation for Dr. Hendricks. This will assist us in terms of improving our upcoming workshop. Yeah, I think we have now come to the end of today's workshop. Thank you once again, student, and goodbye from our side.